Hey everyone, welcome to week two of SCI 150. I hope you enjoyed the first week of content where you looked a little bit of the history of astronomy, um, and then kind of dug into some of the aspects of constellations, where they are, why they're called certain things, and sort of how they, um, what they mean with regards to different stars in the sky, and some basic naming convention of stars too, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then we looked at the motions of the Earth, primarily the revolutions around the sun, and then we get revolving on the axis, excuse me, and then looking into the sort of the Earth and Moon system in terms of phases of the Moon, the path of the Moon through the sky, the lunar month, and so on. Okay, so hopefully, I mean, I find it really interesting, all of it. I think as a someone that is interested in history, I found it really fascinating to learn about how they figure these things out hundreds and thousands of years ago when we're looking at the ancient Greeks, figuring out the circumference of the Earth within what was it, like 100 kilometers is incredible. Back in the ancient Greek days. I mean, that's over 2,000 years ago. And then Copernicus and Brahe and Newton and all of them, hundreds of years ago, with high level of accuracy, determining, where stars and planets are going to be throughout the year. And to me, it's just really fascinating. I don't know. I still don't quite understand how they figured it all out back then. But anyway, hopefully you did find that interesting as well. I remember, you did have the question set that was due over the weekend. There is a late policy, so if you haven't submitted them yet, you can still submit them. It's a 10% deduction per day up to 1 week. So it's okay. The points, losing a few points at the beginning aren't gonna crush your grade, but you don't want to get in the habit of that. So make sure you get things done on time. All right, so we're moving on to chapter 22 next. So the second part of unit one. So in this chapter, it's really focused on the solar system. So all the other planets, how did everything form? Looking at the history of the solar system, and then digging into some of the details um, of the planets. So you have the terrestrial planets, which are the first five: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Sorry, the first four, and then you have the last four, which are jovial planets. And so, sort of explanation why are the ones that are further out, why are they made almost entirely of gas, whereas the ones closer to the sun are made of solid rock with atmospheres. Some have more atmosphere than others. So it really gets into all of those details, which, again, if you're interested in science and um, explanations of why things are the way they are, I think the book does a really good job of that without getting into too much of the detail and make it super confusing. But then we'll also look at other aspects of the solar system, including dwarf planets. Sorry, Pluto, you are no longer a planet, but also asteroids and meteors and so forth. So all of these, the bodies that you find throughout the solar system, it does a pretty good job of explaining them. So remember that on the home page here, it does help you keep track. All the assignments are listed here. So this week you do have a homework and a lab, so keep that in mind. The homework is a little shorter this week. I think it's only 3 or 4 questions, but they're both due on the same day. As you can see, this is Friday, which is the general pattern throughout the semester. And then you do have a lab. Now, note that you can click on the assignment. So I'm going to click on the lab here, and it'll take you right to it, which is nice. Okay, so here's a little description, and then you can actually click on the lab down here. Now, a couple things I want to point out here. Excuse me. Number one, do not start at the last minute for this lab. Do not start at the last minute for this lab. Um, it takes some thought, a little bit of calculation, and it's not necessarily intuitive. Okay, so historically, this takes people a little bit extra time to do. So do not start late in the game. I'm happy to answer questions about this. So I would suggest starting early in the week, and then if you have questions, ask me. But it may help to just start early and then sort of like try to get as much done, and then put it down, let it marinate a little bit, and then finish it up. The other thing I want to point about the lab, there is a video here that is really, really helpful for part of the lab, because again, this is not necessarily intuitive. Basically, you're looking at um, the orbits of the different planets called the ecliptic. We're all effectively in the same plane. So the orbits of the first four planets, the terrestrial planets, and then where they are at certain times of year and how quickly they move throughout in their orbit. So you're going to be dealing with a circle, um, and there's 360 degrees in a circle, so you have to look at the degrees of movement over time, and then the tricky part is that the Earth moves at a different rate around the sun, revolves around a different rate around the sun as the other planets. So they're not like all aligned at all times. They're sort of off kilter at different times of year. And so it's something that can be a little bit difficult to wrap your mind around and could take a little bit of time to figure out. So, excuse me. And so, again, just don't wait till the last minute to do this. All right. So hopefully that helps. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me via email or via the discussion board. And I hope you all had a great holiday weekend and are ready to sort of really hit the ground running this week. I hope you have a great week. If you need anything, let me know.